I first started drinking when I was in high school.
I've had friends who started as early as 13.
Your friends are drinking, like you need to belong.
I think people go to college kind of to drink now more than to go to school.
You wake up and it's a game day and you start drinking, go from different parties to bars to bars to maybe the game or to a different bar for the game. I don't even know how to put a number on it, but like throughout the day you've had a lot to drink.
I think I've seen a lot of people black out. I can't even give you a defined number. People brag about that as if it's something that's cool to do. Like, oh, I'm totally gonna black out tonight.
Every single night people would go out.
People do have that conception that the more you can drink, the cooler you are.
I think the most I've had to drink in one night was maybe around 15 drinks.
What was the night of 15 drinks like?
I don't,
Do you
let
remember
me
the night of 15 drinks?
no, I blacked out. I started drinking in high school with my friends. We would just kind of hang out at someone's house and try alcohol. We thought it was like fun and mysterious.
So like what age?
Probably 14.
And what is a 14-year-old drinking?
We were drinking our parents' alcohol.
I had a couple friends who would just like steal from their parents and replace like the bottle with water or iced tea if it was a brown liquor or something like that. In my experience, I have seen the stereotypical jock and cheerleader drink in high school. I have also seen the smartest kids in my class get drunk. I have seen the drama kids who go really hard, which is surprising. I have seen like everybody kind of just let loose. So I think it's a stereotype that only jocks and cheerleaders drink, because I don't think that's true.
I think in a majority of high schools and colleges, it is considered cool. I know in my high school it was. I mean, personally, I know I didn't drink in high school that much, so like I wouldn't want to relive it. Being pressured to do something, being known like, oh, she doesn't drink, like why would we invite her to this place, or why would we take her to this like party if she's not gonna drink anyways. It was not a fun time being known as like, oh, the girl that doesn't drink.
I don't think there's one type of kid that typically drinks. I think there is that stereotypic belief that not my kid, I'm a good parent, my kids would never do that. I think all of our kids are at risk, and I can say that honestly as a parent of 3, it doesn't matter what your profession is, no child is protected. There's internal pressure, there's societal pressure, there's peer pressure. If you turn on the TV station, and they're showing you this is what we do. When we get together with our friends, we get really drunk and we do shots and we stand upside down on kegs. They see that, and so they feel this pressure from inside that they think that's what they are supposed to be doing.
Bar's open, so come on.
Have you guys seen Aaron yet?
No.
When you think about kids, developmentally, it's about fitting in. It's about being accepted and about being a part of the group. Sometimes that's worse than the pressure from their friends.
At the beginning, definitely as a freshman, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just, here to have a good time, and if drinking was going to be a part of it, I was going to drink and start learning like how much I could drink or couldn't drink. The culture is to drink before you even go out. So you maybe have had 4 to 5 drinks before you even start the night, and then when you get out there you have more to drink. So you be at a bar and you like get another drink, drink that one, go back, get another one, maybe take a shot while you're up there. They ask you if you want a single or a double, maybe you'll say a double. By the end of the night you could probably have upwards 8 to 10 drinks in that one night. If someone were to tell me that, oh, like throughout the night they had a total of 10 drinks, I'd be like, all right, so they probably started drinking at 9 and then they went to bed at 2. So over 5 hours having 10 drinks, that seems like normal to me, but maybe it's not normal.
We have to challenge and change that culture, that thinking that it's normal behavior. and alcohol isn't a drug or alcohol isn't harmful. The brain isn't fully developed till the mid-20s, and for some it could be later than that. So the risk of becoming dependent on alcohol decreases the longer a young person postpones that first drink. But when you think about the other parts of the brain that are developing, judgment, decision-making, and you add alcohol into that, they're already at a disadvantage. The developing brain has the accelerator. So they're all in. They're going to do all the risky behaviors. They don't have the brake.
Have you seen people black out?
Oh yeah. I think you know as soon as you start talking to them, if they're not forming words, you know they're blacked out. If everything they're saying is slurred, you know they're probably blacked out.
I think a lot of people will wind up, sleeping with people they never would have because they completely just are consumed by alcohol. There's a disconnect between your body and your mind. You have drinking enough to just shut out. You don't remember your actions. You don't remember the conversations you had. And eventually your brain clicks back later and you are able to fully be present in your conversations, and you wonder to yourself, what did I just do?
Your friends and you will wake up and you're like, how did I get home? Which is not that great of a phrase to say, but you clearly made it home.
It is always frightening when a student reports that they blacked out. They don't remember the events of the evening. What that tells us is that they have alcohol poisoning, and they're in danger of things shutting down in their body, and they're in danger of dying. It goes along with the same thing if they're throwing up. The body's throwing up because there are toxins, there's poison. When somebody says that my friend had 17 beers and they're still walking, alcohol takes a while to process in the body. So somebody could drink excessively, but the effects of the alcohol may not show itself till several hours later. So I always worry, and we talk about this in high school with our students and even in the middle school, about what to do if a friend has drank excessively. And the first thing we tell them is, don't leave them alone, because even if they're walking and talking, it doesn't mean an hour from now that they're not going to be dead.
I mean, there's been times where a couple of my friends have had one too many drinks and their eyes have kind of glossed over, you can tell, and it's like, okay, maybe it's time to get you home, and we call an Uber and get them home and make sure they're in bed and have pillows behind them and a Gatorade.
I think freshman year, when people black out, it's extremely reckless because it's just all these 18-year-old, 19-year-olds just stumbling around, not knowing where they are, and their friends don't seem to be as accountable for them. But as I've gotten older, me and my friends and everyone else that I see on campus that's more of age, they will black out, but everyone seems to be more has each other's backs and makes sure that their friend gets home or is getting water or makes it home safe. I just feel like time probably is the cure to most people feeling blacked out.
Young people are convinced of that, and we see that at the college level where some of the deaths related to alcohol overdose are their friends left them in their bed, tucked them in and said they were fine. They walked home, they were talking, and then they die as a result of the alcohol processing through the system. I have a lot of sleepless nights. The weekend rolls around, and so I think of young people, I think of the high school students that I work with, and I just hope that, no one has to go through the pain or suffering of losing someone because they died of alcohol poisoning, or they're in an accident, or they cause an accident that might take a life. So that weighs heavy on me, I think.
Police are investigating a possible fraternity hazing death at Louisiana State University.
Maxwell Groover died last month after becoming highly intoxicated at a fraternity pledge event.
An autopsy revealed Groover's blood alcohol level was 0.495% at the time of his death, nearly 2 times what's considered to be a life-threatening level of alcohol.
A California father tells CBS News he believes his 18-year-old son's alcohol-related death was the result of a fraternity hazing ritual. The Orange County Coroner's Office said yesterday Noah Domingo died from accidental alcohol poisoning.
A Pennsylvania judge handed out the first jail sentences in the hazing death of Penn State sophomore Timothy Piazza. The 19-year-old died in February of 2017 after an alcohol-fueled event at the Beta Theta Pi fraternity house.
Police say the restored security footage from the fraternity house basement shows Timothy Piazza consuming at least 18 drinks in 82 minutes. Not once did the 19-year-old get alcohol on his own. Beta Theta Pi brothers gave Piazza all of his drinks.
We've been covering this story from the very, very beginning. This has been one of the largest hazing prosecutions in U.S. history.
Every time I see that picture of Tim Piazza in the football jersey or with his baseball cap turned on backwards, and we've all talked to his parents, and you feel their pain, and they really do want to help others, but they also want justice for their son.
There will be punishment for this kind of behavior. They are trying to reform this fraternity system.
The way I put the drinking culture fraternities, like, I think there is more pressure to do it. I mean, like, everyone, like, I myself, like, I experience more pressure. My friends, like, exert more pressure. That's kind of like the norm of, like, people going in a fraternity. It's kind of what they expect, so it's kind of how they behave. I think if a person in a fraternity didn't drink, they would stand out. I don't really see people not drinking around my fraternity, so.
I mean, speaking from my experience, is like, I lived on, you know, basically our version of fraternity row, and every single house had, you know, they had a DJ, they had a bar outside. I knew some people who would have 10 beers in a sitting, and that wouldn't be enough. They would either say, "Oh, I'm not even drunk," and then they would be able to put one foot in front of the other.
Can you think of like a Friday or Saturday night when it was all the fraternity brothers there, where you guys weren't drinking?
On a Friday or Saturday night? No. At parties and tailgates, we'd often play, you know, there'd be beer pong happening, there'd be flip cup happening. People constantly had, you know, competitions, case races, keg races, to see who can finish either a case of beer, which is 24, or a keg, which is a lot more than that. We had like a mass text service, right? So someone would be like, "Oh, case race in the house in 3 hours," and then people would go. People would kind of involve drinking games with like watching shows, card games, because people wanted to have an excuse to drink. I don't know. It would be like, let's watch the Masters and drink, or let's watch the Oscars and drink, or, you know, drink every time Trump says build the wall.
Can drinking games encourage binge drinking? Absolutely. When you're engaged in a game and, you know, trying to win or not lose or whatever, there's increased pressure to drink more. And then, you know, it's fun. I think, you know, we as human beings like to play games. We like to be competitive. And so the alcohol intake is much greater when you're playing those kinds of games than just sitting around. The surveys do show that being involved in Greek life in college is associated with greater rates of heavy drinking. Young people feel like they need to do what they're being told to do, and sometimes that involves drinking a lot of alcohol. There have been many deaths around Pledge Week because of being required to imbibe a lot. And frankly, as a parent, I would be very concerned, and I, you know, would say, I think this is a bad idea. I mean, even though you yourself might not necessarily, you know, end up in the emergency room, it's still something that is very dangerous, you know, and you could be witness to this. And do you really want to be, you know, contributing to this or condoning this by involvement?
There is this one story, and this will always stick with me, probably for the rest of my life, because it was such a traumatic experience. I had just gotten back from a night out with one of my sorority sisters, and I was getting ready to go to bed, and all of a sudden I hear the girl next door to me just crying so loud. I could hear her through the walls. She was screaming, she was crying. And so I immediately got out of bed and went next door and knocked on the door. And she had told me that she had went to a party, and at this party there was a lot of drinking, and she got into a situation and she was raped. And she didn't know exactly how to navigate everything. You know, should I go to the hospital? Should I call the police? Should I go home? Should I call my mom? You know, what should I do? And I've never had an experience like that, and so both of us just sat there crying together because we didn't know what else to do in that moment. She decided not to report it just because she didn't want to stick with this case for the next 2 years of her life. She didn't want to be remembered of this horrible night, so she packed up all of her stuff, and 2 weeks later, she left the university.
Not everybody who drinks commits sexual assault, obviously, but alcohol really is, it disinhibits, and it increases, in some people, increases an aggressive impulse. Together, you could see how the sexual assault can happen more with alcohol. There's also the inability when somebody is very drunk to be able to have good judgment about where they find themselves, and also the ability to fight back.
I definitely have seen people at bars buying drinks for people who are way too drunk already. I can't pretend to know why they were doing that, but if I had to guess, it's, to end up going home with someone, I was at a house party. It was a friend of mine, his party. I'm minding my business, I'm talking to people, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that the guy slithering over to this girl who probably had a few too many, I would say, and he tries handing her a drink. And she is kind of like stumbling over herself and can barely even grasp the cup. But he's still, trying. I noticed him do this a couple of times, and, and the girl is literally tripping over herself in the house. Then I see the guy kind of make a motion, like he's going to grab her. And I thought, all right, that's a little too much. So I go over there. The girl's saying, no, like, don't do that. And I said to the guy, like, she said, no, what are you doing? And the guy's like, wait, no, man, I'm just trying to get something. And I said, no, like, she can't even stand up. And he's like, yeah, I know. And so I said, no, get the fuck out of here. I think it's a situation that happens a lot in college where girls get a little too drunk and guys try to take that to their advantage. I've seen this happen at bars, parties. And I don't really see people stepping in.
I think as a society that we need to look at how we promote alcohol. Kids are getting messages at a very young age about the acceptance of it's okay to drink and it's not bad for you. It's not a great message at all that we want to send kids. I think about Little League games when I was on the Little League board, and I would get a call from the high school umpire telling me, can you come down to the field because the parents all have red Solo cups and they all seem to be intoxicated. So when that happens, I step back and I think this is a child-centered event, but we're doing adult behaviors here. Where are the boundaries about when we drink as adults who are hopefully responsible, but also we need to be better role models around that. I work with fifth graders who say that when they go to sporting events or when their parents have adult gatherings, that parents drink to excess and that it's funny and it looks like fun.
It seems like a lot of parents that I've met aren't against the drinking culture that they see in college campuses and maybe have experienced that same drinking culture when they were in college themselves, so they want to help their kids have the same experience that they had.
Do you think, though, that many of them are aware of the extent of it?
No. I think a lot of parents are very comfortable with their kids drinking in college, but I think they're completely unaware with the extent or the amount that kids do drink.
People will often, they'll fall asleep on the couch and then maybe someone will come in with like a Sharpie or something and draw things on their face, on their arms, legs. They'll put them in very compromising positions on the couch, Or, I've seen people who are totally, what I like to call belligerent, where they'll just destroy something.
I absolutely think what kids see on social media affects their behavior and decisions. It also not only affects their perceptions about what they should be doing. Many times kids who are posting aren't thinking about how that's going to impact their future.
Nowadays, with job interviews, employers will look at your social media and see what's on your feed. And for the person that's that's going to be constantly partying and drinking, that's going to imply that this person has habits that negatively affect him. Like being late, showing up to work very groggy, recovering from blacking out.
I would think this day and age, if you're loud and proud with uncontrolled activities, it's very difficult to hide it because someone
Definitely.
will have footage of it. And as Riley was saying, most employers do check social media at this point. I think maybe 30 years ago it would have been a lot easier to get away with it. But nowadays that the whole world's connected all the time and you can look at anything. Facebook photos are
Absolutely.
property of Facebook the minute you put them up.
I don't think it's fair to say that underage drinking really should affect your future because I feel like most kids drink underage. So if you hold one accountable, you have to hold them all accountable. If you did something really bad while you were drunk, it shouldn't matter if you were drunk or not, you still did something bad. But I don't think that drinking is the something bad.
When you have almost 2,000 kids a year dying that are college-age kids on college campuses, I'm surprised that those statistics are not out there in a bigger way and that colleges aren't owning that a little bit more. If there were 2,000 kids dying for, a brain disease or the flu or something, we would be all over that.
There's been a lot of focus on opioids, obviously because right now we're in the throes of a lot of people dying from opioid overdoses. But alcohol is still the most misused substance.
Did you ever worry that you might have a drinking problem?
No, I've never been worried that I've had a drinking problem. I think that's something that a lot of us joke about is like, oh, am I an alcoholic because I drink all this alcohol during the week, every week. And I think that it would become a problem when someone isn't able to do what they're actually here for, which is school. I mean, all of my friends are very smart, very academically driven.
The term work hard, play hard, I just think we know how to balance both worlds. I would say it's common to find people who are trying hard, excessively hard in school and also go out on the weekends. I mean, the way I look at it and the way I see people, they kind of treat it as their reward. It's a way to just unwind a little bit, relax, chat with friends, and they're gonna wake up tomorrow hopefully not feeling horrible, granted, and then they're gonna go back and do more work.
So anyone holding a belief that the good kids are the ones who are not the heavy drinkers, that sounds unrealistic.
I think it's unrealistic to think that you can't be a good student and also can't drink a lot. A lot of people here do both, and they do both very, very well.
The heartbreaking ones are when somebody doesn't get the help that they need and you see them years down the road and you see what their life could have been. Those memories never leave you. You remember those kids and wonder what else you could have done to prevent that from happening.